A 4-year-old boy disappears in one of the most remote places on Earth. No screams, no struggle, no trace. This is the story of August Gus Lamont, the little boy who vanished from his family's Outback property, leaving behind a mystery that still chills Australia. If you're new here, welcome to Behind the Crime Scene. Don't forget to subscribe. We dive into the stories that others stop asking questions about. Because sometimes, the most unsettling mysteries begin in the quietest places. It was around 5:30 p.m. on September 27th when Gus's grandmother noticed he was gone. Just minutes earlier, he'd been playing in a pile of red sand near the homestead at Oak Park Station, a sprawling, isolated property almost 350 kilometers north of Adelaide. As the shadows stretched across the desert, that familiar afternoon routine turned into dread. For 3 hours, the family searched every corner of the homestead, calling his name, checking sheds, dams, fences, everything, but Gus was nowhere. At 8:30 p.m., they finally called police, and that's where one of the strangest missing persons searches in recent memory began. The next morning, police launched a massive search operation. Helicopters flew overhead. Drones equipped with infrared sensors scanned the dusty terrain. Specialist trackers, including indigenous experts familiar with the land, joined in. They searched dams, dry creek beds, and even rabbit holes looking for any sign of movement. Convoys came from the tiny town of Yunta, 40 kilometers away, a town so small it has 2 petrol stations, 1 pub, and not much else. And yet, despite all that manpower and technology, they found nothing. Not a toy, not a piece of clothing, not even a trail of footprints, except one partial print about 500 meters from the house, which police later admitted might not belong to Gus at all. How can a child vanish in open land like that, with no signs, no noise, and no trace of direction? After a week of searching, authorities made a heartbreaking announcement. They were scaling back the operation. Experts said a 4-year-old could not have survived in that terrain, with those temperatures and the limited clothing Gus had on. Police told the family to prepare for the worst. But some viewers might ask, why so soon? If a child goes missing in a city, searches last for weeks. So why, in this case, was the conclusion reached so quickly? Is it just the harsh reality of the Outback? Or something deeper about what investigators believed had really happened on that property? The official line was simple: "We've done everything we can." But the family didn't agree. As the police wound down, the family kept searching privately. Gus's grandparent, Josie Murray, told the media, "We're still looking. We can't give up." But online, the case began taking a different shape. Viewers started noticing that only one photo of Gus had been released, and nearly a week after he disappeared. Others asked, why weren't the parents or grandparents appearing on television, pleading for help as we so often see in missing child cases? Was it because they were exhausted, in shock, or because they wanted to avoid questions they couldn't answer yet? These are sensitive questions, but they matter, because in the world of true crime, silence can sometimes speak the loudest. And then came the surprise. After scaling the search back, police suddenly returned to Oak Park Station, announcing they'd resume activity. No reason given, no new evidence revealed, just a short statement saying they'd continue working closely with the family. What had changed? Did new information come in? Or did investigators feel something on that property didn't add up? When journalists visited, they described a haunting stillness. No officers, no media chaos, just silence under the vast sky, almost as if the land itself had swallowed its secret. Let's talk about the family, because, like it or not, that's where the public curiosity has focused. Gus lived with his mother, Jessica, and his grandparents, Josie and Shannon Murray. Josie is Jessica's biological father, who later transitioned and now lives as a woman with her partner Shannon, who is also Jessica's biological mother. They share the property, a multi-generational home far from the nearest town. Locals describe them as kind but private. Descendants of a respected family, Shannon's late father was a war veteran who survived years in Japanese POW camps. But not everyone agreed about the family dynamics. Gus's father, Josh Lamont, lives 2 hours away in the farming town of Bull North. Friends say he and Jessica were still together but lived apart because of clashes with Josie. When police woke Josh to tell him Gus was missing, he was reportedly furious, saying he never felt the property was safe for children. That detail caught many people's attention. If you were a parent, and your partner lived on a remote property with your child, would you feel comfortable if there had already been tension in the family? And why was Josh not informed sooner, hours after the disappearance? These are the questions that still linger. So, what are the main theories about what happened to Gus Lamont? Theory 1, he wandered off. A simple tragic accident. But experts say the desert doesn't hide evidence, it reveals it. If Gus had walked off, trackers would have found consistent footprints, disturbed soil, or dropped items. None were ever located. Theory 2, an animal attack. Ruled out. No evidence, no tracks, no drag marks. Theory 3, he fell into an old well or mine shaft. Possible, but after thorough searches, not a single shaft or well was found within miles. Theory 4, abduction. Also unlikely. Oak Park Station is nearly 40 kilometers from the nearest road. Reaching it requires navigating dirt trails with gates and fences. A stranger wouldn't just appear there unnoticed. Still, people keep asking, could someone known to the family have been involved? There's no evidence of that either, but the unease remains. Maybe because the case has so many gaps. Maybe because the human mind struggles with the idea that a child can simply disappear. Then there are the smaller details, the kind that haunt you. Why did the family ask volunteers to stay away from the property, even when offers poured in from locals? Was it because they truly needed privacy, or because they didn't want outsiders disturbing something the police hadn't seen yet? And why were there no photos or social media pleas from the parents during the first days? Grief affects everyone differently, but the public tends to notice when reactions don't fit expectations. Some locals say the Murrays were exhausted and overwhelmed. Others whisper that family tension made communication with police harder than it seemed. Could that tension have delayed the search in those critical first hours? We don't know, but it's a question that deserves asking. One SES member who joined the search said something chilling. There were no birds of prey, no signs of anything. It's like the land was untouched. That emptiness, that absence, has become the most disturbing clue of all. In most cases, nature leaves hints. Here, it left silence, and as days turned into weeks, the desert heat gave way to cold nights, and hope slowly dissolved into dust. So, what really happened to Gus Lamont? Did a child wander too far into a land that shows no mercy? Or did something unfold on that property that no one has been able or willing to explain? We may never know. But one thing is certain. This case reminds us that the Outback holds its secrets tightly. No cameras. No witnesses. Just endless red earth that forgets everything you ask it to remember. What do you think really happened out there? Do you believe the family's story? Or do you sense something more? Let me know in the comments your theories, your questions. And if you're drawn to mysteries that don't add up, subscribe to Behind the Crime Scene for more stories that ask the hard questions. Because somewhere out there in the Australian outback, a little boy's story still echoes, and the silence around it might be hiding the truth.